Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reisch, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for watching the most fact-driven, unbiased, true crime channel. Let's get straight to the docket. First, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell asked for another hearing, and the court has set one, and it is super secret. Second, let's talk about the video that we did last week. Apparently, the facts upset and offended a lot of people. It got quite personal. Third, 5 officers in Oklahoma face charges of first-degree murder. We have the video. Fourth, if you can't compete with the competition, simply lie about them and get them kicked off the team. Fifth, anyone can do it. How hard could it possibly be? Maybe a break in the missing West Boys investigation. And finally, our dumb criminal contestant of the day. Let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reisch, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for watching. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button as well as the little bell over there in the corner so that you can receive notifications of when we go live or put up new content. We will go live tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Mountain Time here on YouTube and Facebook. We hope that you join us. Now, you may say, why is Scott so casual? It's not a Saturday. Well, we had a little bit of a snow here. I don't know, like 24 inches, something like that. Apparently, most of the world shuts down, but not Crime Talk. That's right. We work all the time for you. All right, let's get straight to the docket. First on the docket, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell ask for another hearing, and they get a status conference, and it's super secret. Do you remember last week the attorneys for Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell each filed a motion for an ex parte protective order, and obviously it wasn't subject to public release because, well, they're asking to do it ex parte and it's a protective order. Normally a protective order is not disclosing some information to the opposing side. Very rare indeed, particularly in a criminal case where anything is going to be done ex parte. Ex parte simply means the other party, the other side, is not present. And in this particular case, the defense is asking for a protective order and not have the prosecution participate in that. Seems a little odd to me indeed. Never done one in some 25 years of criminal defense practice, but hey, I guess there's always a first time. And like I said, so far in this case, they file a motion for anything. So I guess they figure we're having a difficult time coming up with a defense. We'll just try and create distractions. I know how to do this. I've been there. If the DA is responding to frivolous motions, that means they're not working on the case. Although none of my motions are ever frivolous, they always are based in fact and merit, I assure you. So the next scheduling conference regarding this matter is April 7th at 1:30. It looks like it's going to be live streamed. We'll bring it to you, but it's more than likely going to be held behind closed doors in the little Zoom breakout sessions, but we'll try to figure out what the hell are these guys coming up with and what do they intend to do. Next on the docket, let's talk about the video that we put up last week. Apparently, it got people all offended. That's right. Because we talked about George Floyd receiving a $27 million settlement in regards to the civil rights lawsuit that was filed on behalf of his family with attorney Benjamin Crump. And hey, more power to attorney Crump, more power to the family that was going to receive a portion of the $27 million minus what the attorneys get. And apparently some $500,000 is going towards the neighborhood where Mr. Floyd passed away. Well, a lot of people got very upset with me. And I always find it interesting because everybody was saying, oh my God, Scott, you're some Trumpster. All you're doing is spewing the party line. Really? Not the case. Because when I talk about, for example, the Ahmaud Arbery case, and I say that Gregory McMichael, Travis McMichael, and William Bryan have a real bad case, and it doesn't appear that they were justified under the law going up to Mr. Arbery with a shotgun and approaching him because they had no evidence that a crime had in fact been committed. We've talked about it. We've actually shown you the jury instructions. We've read you the law. And I get accused of being some left-wing criminal defense attorney. How could you? You sell out. This guy's a criminal, blah, 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 blah. I hear it all the time. So I guess if we're offending everybody, we must be talking about the facts. And if you want to talk politics, if that's how you're going to justify a criminal case, is saying it's because politically I want this to happen. Oh my. If we want show trials simply for the political benefit of a particular party, that's a little scary. Maybe people need to decide what country they would like to live in, because we still have a constitution. You want show trials? Go off to Russia, go off to China. Let's face it, the decision's made before the whole thing begins based upon what the party wants. Well, we're not in any party, and we're going about the facts and the law. And like I said, apparently I offend everybody and I get accused by so many things because people don't like where the facts and the law come out. So what did we talk about that apparently upset everybody? I said, well, $27 million. It's the highest pre-trial settlement in a civil rights case ever, $27 million. And if that's what it's going to take for the city of Minneapolis to make sure that their officers do the right thing, then so be it. Because frankly, none of these police stations, these cities, do anything when they do in fact get sued. So the fact that they get a bunch of money, or they have to give away a bunch of their citizens' money, you'd think the citizens would be upset and saying, hey, why don't you fix the problem so we're not spending $27 million paying it to defendants and their attorneys? We could probably come up with something much better to use it on in our community. But nobody changes anything like that until and if it gets expensive. And what else did we say? I said, oh my gosh, does this possibly help Derek Chauvin? We weren't saying, oh my God, go Derek Chauvin, go Derek Chauvin. No, we weren't saying that at all. What we're saying is it's basically an admission that the city doesn't train and properly supervise their police officers, which is somewhat of the defense that Derek Chauvin is going to be raising. Now, if that offends you to anticipate what the defendant is going to talk about in their defense, you need to go find a different channel. That's just the way it is. So I know everybody wants to unsubscribe, always tells me I'm going to unsubscribe. You don't have to tell me, just leave, okay? But that's what this channel is here to talk about, the facts, the strategy, not politics, okay? And so the fact that we also discussed that Derek Chauvin's attorneys are going to be highlighting the fact that Mr. Floyd had fentanyl and methamphetamine in his system, and that basically their theory is, not whether I believe it or not, their theory is that he probably was going to die anyway, given the levels in his system, and that Derek Chauvin was doing what he was trained to do, and he did everything correctly. That's going to be the defense. If people have a problem with that, like I said, maybe a true crime channel is not your cup of tea. The prosecutor, on the other hand, is going to say Derek Chauvin is a cold-blooded killer and he should be found guilty for applying this neck pressure, and they're going to bring in other incidents of this. Like I said, Derek Chauvin, I think I've said this on video, he's just got that smug attitude, at least as he did as a police officer. He looks a little more humble now, but he is the type of police officer that I have fought against for 25 years. One who wants to do what he wants to do and is basically a cowboy out on the streets. Get rid of him. And I've said this, and you can go back to any video we've talked about the police. I have no problem with the police, okay? I don't think that you should necessarily get rid of the police, as some people have suggested. And oh yes, some people have suggested of getting rid of all of the police. Some people have suggested, oh, we're not going to get rid of all of them, and defund the police doesn't mean we're going to really defund them, but we're going to use that money so that we can have social workers show up on the scene. I get it. If you need social workers to show up, find out where you're going to put your money. But if you've seen in every state and city where they've said, hey, let's get rid of the police, what has happened? Oh, just like in Minneapolis, where they wanted to give another $6 million back to the police department's budget that they took out after the George Floyd matter. Because why? The crime rate has skyrocketed. Because this is just common sense, ladies and gentlemen. You get more of what you tolerate. If you tolerate crime, people committing crime, and not punishing them for that, guess what? You're going to get more of it. It's that simple. I was also accused of people saying, Scott, you need to check your white privilege. Oh, okay. And I was told that I couldn't recognize anything or understand anything because of my white privilege. Well, I wrote back to one person and said, you have no idea anything about me. You're looking at somebody who came from lower middle class America, so to speak. We didn't have any extras. Both my parents had to work. And all I remember most about my childhood was, no, we can't do it. We can't afford it. So that's probably why I've had a job since the age of 12, at least not W-2 at that point, but I did have one where I was receiving a W-2 by the age of 14. And I don't think I've had more than about 3 days off in between any job. I had to join the military to pay for college because my parents didn't have any money. I had no golden silver spoon in my mouth. Nobody was going to pay for my college. And I understand a lot of people think, oh, if you went to law school, your family must be rich. I was the first one in my family to go to college, let alone law school, that I paid for it all myself. My parents paid for one semester of college. And back at that time, almost 30 years ago, I guess it was about $1,200 per semester. Yeah. So I don't think that's a whole lot of white privilege. And oh, by the way, when I was both a defense attorney in the military in the United States Marine Corps and in private practice, where I've represented many, many indigent defendants, i.e. court-appointed counsel, court-appointed, where most of my clients were of minority descent. And I have walked a lot of them in trial, and I have got them great deals where they're appreciative to this day. And I did it because I was representing my client, because I was raised with one thing in mind. You defend the Constitution as an attorney, and it applies to everybody. And second of all, you judge the people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. It seems like a lot of people these days want to base everything based upon the color of people's skin. I was raised, skin color didn't matter. Facts matter. People matter. Bottom line. So if people are offended, that's okay. You can leave. You don't need to watch. But if you want facts and analysis of legal cases, this is where you'll come back to. This is where you can be. But really, people, just because an analysis doesn't comport with your perceived injustice of the world, guess what? Life isn't fair. And if you want justice, the courthouse is the wrong place to go. It doesn't always turn out, I assure you. I've lost several cases over the years where I don't think justice was done at all. Next on the docket, 5 officers in Oklahoma are facing first-degree murder charges. At least 5 Oklahoma City police officers are facing first-degree manslaughter charges in the shooting death of a 15-year-old boy who was reportedly trying to rob a convenience store. On November 23rd, Oklahoma City police officers responded to a call for an attempted armed robbery at an area convenience store. When the officers arrived on the scene, they encountered the suspect, 15-year-old Stavian Rodriguez. Footage of the encounter has been released showing Rodriguez, who was armed when officers arrived on the scene. placing his weapon on the ground and appearing to cooperate with the police. "Show us your hands, sir," cops are heard telling the teen. Nobody wants to get hurt. Rodriguez can be seen lifting his shirt to show officers that he has a gun tucked in the waistband of his jeans. He places the weapon on the ground and an officer shouts, "Get down on the ground." Rodriguez then seems to attempt to reach into his pocket in a motion that appears to be an act of removing something else. Moments later, officers shoot Rodriguez at least 13 times, ultimately killing him. The officers were placed on administrative leave immediately following the fatal shooting. A probable cause affidavit states that the officers unnecessarily shot the 15-year-old after officers were simultaneously giving him varying commands. The affidavit also notes that Rodriguez was not armed beyond the weapon he'd laid on the ground at the officer's command. Stavian Rodriguez had no weapon on him other than his firearm, which he dropped prior to being shot, according to the affidavit. A cell phone was recovered from his left rear pocket he had in his hand at the time that he was shot. Officers facing first-degree manslaughter charges include Bethany Sears, Brad Pemberton, Corey Adams, Jared Barton, and John Scuda. If convicted of the charges, the officers face life in prison. The sixth officer, Sarah Carley, was the first one to fire a less lethal weapon. She is not facing charges. Investigators determined that after being shot with the less lethal round, 5 officers unnecessarily fired lethal rounds at Rodriguez, striking him numerous times and inflicting mortal wounds. Now, a 17-year-old boy is also facing first-degree murder charges in connection to Rodriguez's death after he admitted to being involved in the robbery, but happened to be there when the cops fired on Rodriguez. That is what is referred to as the felony murder statute. If somebody dies, usually in a specified felony, a high-risk felony like an aggravated robbery, even if you did not harm the person, that means that you can still spend the rest of your life in prison under the felony murder statute. Not saying it's fair, but that's just the way it is. Now, this is a case where there is a video and it can be disturbing. But what we like to do here at Crime Talk is to be able to have people make the decision for themselves. It's funny, when you get people to think for themselves, sometimes they think for themselves. And I know our subscribers are smart people. I've talked with them. I've interacted with them. They're smart people. They get it. They can choose whether they want to do this. So we will put up a separate video of this content, and it could be disturbing to some people, but like I said, it's your choice. Something that we still have in America, although some people don't want us to. And I'm sure somebody will be offended and probably contact YouTube and say, take that video down. It offends me. That's right. We're still in America, and we've said it before. If you are offended by people expressing ideas in the arena of ideas, you may want to reevaluate where you're coming from. Bottom line. We're putting this video up so that you can see the split-second decision that officers have to make. And I understand that officers are obviously fear for their life, but frankly, who doesn't? And if we as citizens make the wrong decision, we can be criminally charged. This is the type of case where officers have been charged where they made the wrong decision. What other area, other than being a government employee, can you screw up so badly that somebody else dies and usually there's no repercussions whatsoever? Only as a government employee can you have that. And it's only started to change since George Floyd. And that's a good thing. I understand police officers have a tough job, but at the end of the day, they need to be treated just like everyone else. We're going to put this up on the Patreon page because, last time we put up a video similar to this, we got a community strike because somebody said that they were offended. So if you'd like to see it, go check out our Patreon page. Next on the docket, if you cannot compete, just simply lie about the competition and take them out. And this is a case of what we refer to here at the office, sometimes affectionately as TMM, too much mommy. That's right, too much mommy. That's where The mommy always takes care of everything, and it usually screws the kid up down the way that, they have no confidence whatsoever. This is a case where clearly this could possibly happen. Police arrested a 50-year-old Bucks County, Pennsylvania woman on March 10th for sending her teen daughter's cheerleading coach fake photos and videos depicting her rivals on the team in various states of undress, drinking, or smoking to try to get them kicked off the squad. What mother wouldn't do that? Instead of maybe just trying to make your daughter better through practice, get rid of the competition. Raffaella Spone of Pennsylvania was charged with 2 misdemeanors. Spone is facing 3 counts of cyber harassment of a child and 3 counts of harassment. An investigation last year led officers to discover that Spone had sent harassing text messages directly to the teenagers as well. As the investigation continued, more teenagers came forward who were all part of a traveling cheerleading group called the Victory Vipers. Apparently, they're based in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Well, Spone last year created the doctored images of at least 3 members, according to the arrest affidavit. There was no indications that Spone's daughter knew what her mother was doing. The teenagers told officers that Spone sent them manipulated images and, in an anonymous message, urged them to kill themselves. Hilltown police were contacted by one of the teenagers' parents in July, and then 2 more families came forward with a similar account. They told officers they and their cheerleading coaches received text messages that depicted them in various states of undress or naked, drinking and smoking a vape pipe, according to police affidavits. Some of the teenagers were sent photos of themselves in bikinis and accompanying text saying the subjects were drinking at the shore. The videos were analyzed, and detectives were able to determine that they were what is known as deep fakes, digitally altered but realistic-looking images created by mapping the girls' social media photos onto other images. You just can't trust what you see anymore, ladies and gentlemen. No one's sure exactly what pushed Miss Spone to this point. As a dad, one dad said, I was pretty upset about it. It's an image put out there of my daughter that is simply not true. Now, Miss Spone was released on the condition that she appear for a preliminary hearing on March 30th. That'd probably be what they refer to as a pretrial conference, since she wouldn't be entitled to a technical preliminary hearing because they're misdemeanors. You just can't make this stuff up, ladies and gentlemen. Next on the docket. Anyone can do it, right? It's how tough could it possibly be? Yes, that's true. A lot of people could be lawyers. You don't really need to go to law school. I mean, really what you're paying for is somebody that does have a license, can be held accountable if they mess up, for sure. And then you're also paying for their experience. You're paying for somebody's experience, usually over a decade or more, because they've handled cases. So if something goes wrong, they can try to fix it. That goes not only for lawyers, but doctors as well. Professionals, plumbers, electricians, I don't care. You pay professionals to do it. The day of the proverbial shade tree mechanic, doing it yourself and save, just doesn't work when you should hire professionals. So a Florida woman who allegedly pretended to be a plastic surgeon has been arrested after claiming she disfigured a man's face during a nose job session. Alicia Jimenez de Rodriguez was arrested last Thursday while she was in the middle of performing another surgery at an anti-aging and surgery center in Miami. According to the police reports, the victim visited the center on February 15th to get rhinoplasty surgery. Jimenez de Rodriguez reportedly performed the surgery, which left the patient with an unhealed and malformed nose. In May, when his nose still hadn't healed, the patient contacted the center and received a second surgery. When his nose remained malformed, the victim contacted Jimenez de Rodriguez and asked for her medical license number and her medical malpractice insurance information, which obviously she wasn't able to provide because she doesn't have a license. Needless to say, an investigation began, and the Florida Health Department concluded their investigation that Jimenez de Rodriguez was practicing without a license and arrested her. She's ultimately charged with practicing medicine without a license and resisting arrest because when they were putting on handcuffs, she stiffened up. She was taken to the Miami-Dade County Jail where the judge set her bond at $5,000. Wow. We've had lots of people. Remember the guy, I think it was Oklahoma, that was performing castrations on his kitchen table? Then we had people that were performing surgery on animals to neuter them, all without a license. Are you kidding me? Really? Come on, people. Use some common sense out there, please, before somebody gets seriously injured. Now, let's take a quick break. Please go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up for a background subscription service. You'll be happy you did. If there's anyone out there you were ever curious about what was in their background, now is the time to do it. If you're going to get involved with somebody, now is the time to do it. When you go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, you put in the name, literally millions of public records are searched, and a report is generated. And it's going to give you a report. If they have multiple social media accounts, you're going to find it. If they have multiple phone numbers, multiple email addresses, it's going to be found. And more importantly, you're going to get information regarding criminal history. Hopefully the person you're searching has none whatsoever. But if it's there, it's going to be found. You're going to get everything you'd want to know, whether you're going into business or whether you're going into a personal relationship. You're going to be able to find out the information you want to know. So go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up today. You'll be happy you did. Next on the docket, is there a break in the missing West boys? Let's talk about it. According to a neighbor, the Bakersfield Police Department conducted a search in connection to the disappearance of 2 California City kids. The search took place around 1 p.m. Friday afternoon of last week in the 1100 block of East Potomac Avenue at the home of the adoptive grandparents of Orrin and Orson West. Investigators were seen leaving with brown bags, which is not unusual if something of evidentiary value is being collected. What is the significance of the items of evidentiary value? We don't know yet. According to the neighbors who live about 2 houses down, saying that the police were out there, they were in the yard, and they stayed for a little while. Then 4 of them left. There were 2 left inside, and they stayed maybe no longer than about 30 minutes, according to the neighbor. Earlier this month, as you may recall, the Bakersfield Police Department took over as lead investigators in the case involving the disappearance of 3-year-old Orson West and 4-year-old Orrin West. The 2 boys were reported missing in California City on December 21st by their adoptive parents. No one has been listed as a suspect or a person of interest in this case, and although lots of people would like to suspect the adoptive parents as being responsible, we have to give them the presumption of innocence because they have not been charged or convicted of a crime by either a jury or through the entrance of a guilty plea. All right, next on the docket, our dumb criminal contestant of the day. But who was the dumb criminal contestant of the week last week? Yes, I wouldn't say unanimous, but by overwhelming majority, Demencio Lopez. That's right, the dank gummies guy crushed the competition. As you may recall, Mr. Lopez needed assistance from the police in getting his car started. The reason that he couldn't get his car started was because he had the keys in his pocket. That's right, the car needed a key in the ignition to work. But when he was removing items from his pockets, Mr. Lopez pulled out a bag of dank gummies, which obviously had been infused with THC. And oh, by the way, they found some cocaine there as well, which really got Mr. Lopez arrested. But Mr. Lopez, congratulations. You are a dumb criminal contestant of the week. You are going to receive a Crime Talk mug. If you all would like to receive that Crime Talk mug without becoming the dumb criminal contestant of the day, simply hit the Teespring link below. Get some cool merchandise. A lot of this stuff really took off right before Christmas, but guess what? We've got all the summer holidays coming up, and everybody needs to show up with their Crime Talk shirt on. You can still get my personal favorite, the one that says lawyer, lawyer, lawyer on it. I love that one. All right, our dumb criminal contestant of the day. And I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this gentleman's first name. We will just simply refer to him as Bewaji. Well, Mr. Bewaji worked at an assisted living facility. And in this particular case, the family had set up a Ring door cam so that they could check on their mother who's in this facility. They wanted to make sure that she's okay. I've set up various cameras like this, for example, out the airplane hangar, so I can see what's going on, and you can communicate with somebody that walks in. So if the mechanic goes and checks the plane out, we deal with that. So Mr. Bewaji was taking care of the victim in this particular case. The son received a notification that there was movement in the room. So as he logged in to check and make sure his mother was being cared for appropriately, Mr. Bewaji was attempting or was in the act of sexually assaulting the woman. Needless to say, the victim's son immediately contacted the police. Mr. Bewaji has been arrested on very serious charges of assaulting a vulnerable adult. And he apparently, reportedly confessed, but we'll still give him the presumption of innocence. Not only does Mr. Bewaji need help, but the reason why he is our dumb criminal contestant of the day today is that, ladies and gentlemen, there are video cameras everywhere. Don't commit crime. You must assume that somebody is watching. Even if you don't think there's any cameras around, there could be an item in the room that was made to look like just a normal item in the room. Mr. Bewaji, if you did what you were accused to do, you deserve to go to prison for a very long time because you're a very sick individual. But you are a dumb criminal contestant of the day. One, for taking advantage of this at-risk Alzheimer patient who's 83 years old, but also for the fact that not realizing that you are being watched all the time. All right, that's all we have for you today. We're going to continue to dig out here in Colorado. Have a wonderful day. Please join us tomorrow, and please join us tomorrow when we go live. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.